Hi, everyone. Welcome to Journey of the Unordinary, a podcast where we will carry out intimate conversations with our guests to learn about their journeys to where they are today. In each episode, we'll cover where they grew up, what are some pivotal moments in their life, and their approach in life in general. I'm Jackie, a Chinese born New York City living girl who's perpetually on a hunt for her childhood hometown food from Kunming.
And I'm Chuxing, a Chinese born Sydney living girl who loves exploring life and making meaningful connections. In this season, we bring you 10 episodes of 10 guests centered around tech and data. Join us to uncover their unique paths of these beautiful, unordinary people. Find a piece of yourself in their stories and let their adventure inspire your own.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the eighth episode of Journey of the Unordinary. Today, we are live in Lisbon, and we are so excited to have our special guest, 0xBoxer, with us today.
We first met Boxer or Florian just from the world of crypto. I think Trucing was taking a 30 by 30 course hosted by Andrew and Florian. And then I just somehow met him on crypto somehow. And then fast forward a few months, I started working with him in the same community team. And the rest is history. So really, really excited to have him on the pod today. And especially this is our first ever podcast live. Yesterday we had DoonCon, which is the reason we're all live from. We're all recording from Lisbon. Okay, first question. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
Honestly, I never really I don't have a recollection of what I wanted to be when I grew up. Like as a kid, I was always kind of fascinated by, I guess, construction. Like I had a lot of Lego, you guys know the the Lego toys from the construction. So that was something I seem to have been interested in. But I never imagined myself of let's be a construction guy. Um, so I don't know. I don't really have a recollection of oh, I want to be a firefighter or a policeman. Not something that has been a thing in my life.
So, do you think your younger self would be surprised if they know that, oh, like Florian Boxer right now is doing developer relations at a crypto data company?
Yeah, not really. So so my father has always been doing SAP in Germany. So SAP is a big kind of enterprise data warehouse software. Um, and he was doing consulting, and now he works at actual SAP. So I don't think it's very surprising that I kind of followed in that footsteps of hey, something with technology and something with I don't know, in the intersection of business and technology. I think that's very similar. So maybe my dream was always to be like my dad. Maybe we just figured that out. But um, no, so it's not very surprising. I guess the crypto part is it's just the cutting edge of technology of this. Basically, you could run your enterprise warehouse on Dune, if you really think about it. So it's not totally foreign. But yeah, I guess working at a Norwegian crypto startup and traveling all around the world for my job and going through all these hackathons and stuff, that's, yeah, I don't think I would have expected that. That's a bit of a foreign concept. um
Uh, okay. Do you? What were you really good at? Can you remember as a kid what you just excelled at without even trying?
yeah, I think it's I never really needed to try with a lot of
Whoa.
things. I guess I was lucky in my I guess just the things that my parents gave me with them. Very, very good at excelling in a lot of different areas of life. So in school, I never I used to do my homework in the morning, literally in 10 minutes, and other people would sit there for hours and do the in Germany, school homework is not very serious, I guess. So it's not you have hours and hours of tasks. But like I remember like I had a math teacher, and like she was the only one who'd like actually get mad if you did do your homework. And like so I like did my math homework in the morning always. Like that was like, and like in 10 minutes, and like I should have done it probably the day before in the afternoon. But yeah, in general, like I never really like, throughout my whole like career of like school, I never really like needed to like study really hard to like see results. um like I think like for some reason or another, like most kind of tasks that you give me, like I just kind of like naturally find a like iteration process of getting better at them, like without really trying hard. But I'm also like, I get interested in things very easily.
Mm.
So like sitting in school in chemistry class, it's like other people are just sitting there and they just totally zone out, and I'm like, oh, like interesting, like this is how this shit works. So I think like that kind of like this kind of like natural curiosity and drive to like try to learn and understand things has enabled me to like kind of have an easy time with like a lot of things. But yeah, I don't know, any questions.
So you just mentioned that as a kid, you are just like kind of naturally good at the things that got handed over to you. Is there any like kind of subject that you're specifically interested in at school? And also maybe tell us a little bit more about like the major that you choose in a university and why you choose that.
I think in school I was mostly like sports, of course. That was always like was always like saving from just being like tied to a bench all day and like having to sit there. Um, Other than that, I think the like biology was always really interesting to me. Just like figuring out like how like humans work and like animals work. Like as soon as we got to like down to the cell levels and stuff, I was like, ah, like this is. It's just like remembering so much stuff. Like so much about school is just like remembering shit, and I didn't really like particularly enjoy that. Um, I think like history and like social science classes, I guess you could call it, or like politics. Like there's like different kind. Like I guess you could call like they're all kind of interrelated, and like that was always cool because you could just like hang out, talk a bit of shit, and like I had like a I had a like pretty good kind of general knowledge of the world, just because like I don't know, like my parents always like read newspaper, or like and like then I started reading the newspaper. There was like a kids section in the newspaper that was always really cool. So like I, from an early age, I kind of got accustomed to like the information environment that we live in, I guess. Um so I always had like good context of like the things that we were discussing in like sociology class, or like history, politics, that kind of thing. Like of course, like I wasn't like the super nerdy kid who was like, oh no, like Hitler didn't actually kill himself or something like this. It's like I was just like I like had a good framework of kind of like sorting like the things that you would learn in school into like mental frameworks. So like I could basically always just sit there and like chat with the teacher about like the topics and like ask questions like, hey, like how does this actually work, and like why, I don't know, why did certain things happen, or like why did people decide why this is a thing. So I think those classes were always like very like easygoing for me, and like I could just kind of like um yeah, like vibe with them very easily.
I guess follow up on everything so easy for young Florian. Do you think that that backfired for you later on in adult years? All right, can you maybe elaborate on that part?
Yeah. Yeah, so Chuchin actually asked earlier, is like my major, or like in Germany you just say like I'm studying. So I chose business administration, and it's also kind of like my brother. Like I actually went to the same university as my brother. So my brother is 4 years older, and he was basically like he finished at university, and then I finished school, and he was like, yeah, it was like a good experience. Like, why don't you like apply there? So I applied there, and like I got accepted at a few other universities, but like that was like the one that was like, I don't know. It was like practical, like it was the closest one to home, and like you could get there. Um, so yeah, I did the same one, and then to this part of did that backfire? Yeah, hugely. Like even for my like the final exams in Germany, they like basically in Germany it's like the way school is structured, or like your final kind of end note, like the
Great.
CPA, I guess. Yeah, the end grades. Um, the way it's calculated is like the last 2 years of school, like all of those grades, and then there's like a final test, and the final test I think is like 30% of your final grade. And like I didn't do shit for like you get like four weeks to like prepare for it. And I started studying like 3 days earlier, I think. So like all of those grades were like really bad. Like they were like just so bad that it was acceptable, and I didn't like not pass the exam and needed to like retake the test. So like things do backfire, because I couldn't just vibe. Like I like actually had to sit down and like learn things, and like so much like yeah, just like learning things and remembering them. And like I've always kind of like been bad at that. Like that's not my strong suit of like just sitting down and like just trying to like brute force information into my brain. Like that doesn't work. So then like I went to university, and like the way I kind of like have this, or like the way I remember is this, like every exam in university was basically as much learning as like the entire like final grade for like all the different classes. And then like of course like those like first exams in university were like really really bad, because I had no structure of like learning. I had no idea how to like actually like discipline myself to like like you actually need to sit down like at least 4 hours a day and like actually do that. It's just not a concept for me. I was just always like, yeah, like I'll go to the lectures and like, but then I'll go home and like do my stuff. Um, so yeah, first couple exams were pretty hard. I even like failed some, and like in some I just sat in there and like I looked at the test and it was like what the fuck, and like I just tore the paper and like went out. It's like um, so yeah, that was a learning experience, I guess. Um, so yeah, and then like over time, like over the first like 1 2 years of university, like you like actually start developing like a system, and you're like, oh okay, like let me actually go to the library, because like if you're in the library you can't fuck around. Like you're there, like you put your phone inside of a locker, and then you're just there with your books, and then I guess the most interesting thing in front of you is like the whatever the slideshow for the lectures, or the book, or whatever I needed to learn. So yeah, it was an uphill battle in university, definitely.
Wow. So it sounds like you have a kind of a chaotic start at the university, and then what happened? Like, what is connecting from like university and then like your job, like your journey to doing at the moment?
Whew, that's a journey. So I actually like, even though I kind of disciplined myself, like I never like university was always like, as I went into university, I already knew like this is a bit ridiculous. Like I'm just going here for this piece of paper. Like I could probably like teach myself this stuff in like less amount of time. And it's also like business administration is like very, it's kind of a basic, like I don't know. I wouldn't recommend anyone to study it. Basically, it's like you just like you do like accounting, you do taxes. I actually had some law classes. That was actually interesting, because like that kind of like helps you later in life to like if you ever like come in contact with the law. Like not in a negative way. It's like you can also like you also have rights. So like to enforce those rights, you can actually use the laws to your advantage. I haven't gotten in trouble
Sure,
with the law
sure.
yet.
No, what's up?
Yet. um, yeah, like you got like accounting and like all like bookkeeping, like corporate bookkeeping. It's like, oh my god, like it's the most fucking boring thing you can imagine. So yeah, like I think like the problem with like business administration is that's like super broad, and it's like you might be interested in some topics. So there was like micro and macroeconomics. Like I thought that was like microeconomics super interesting, or like logistics or something like this. It's just like logistics, like it's such a big part of like how the world works today. So like it was really interesting. But then it's also like it very much depends on like the individual professors, or like the other people that work on the university who can teach you stuff. I forgot the name in English. So yeah, teaching assistant. I don't know. So yeah, like university was never like my top priority. So like I think I started studying in like 2015. I want to say, when I was 19, and then I did 2 years of that, or like 1.5 years, and then it's already 2017 when I first like got into contact with crypto. So like early 2017, I randomly, I still remember this. I was watching some like weird conspiracy YouTube videos. This channel is still going. Like he's been predicting a new ice age for like the last 10 years. It's absolutely mental. And like he somehow mentioned the new world computer, or like the Ethereum is going to be the settlement layer for the world post ice age or something like this, and it went up like 100% in price. And I was like, oh, this sounds really really interesting. Like let's look into this. And then like I basically fell down this crypto rabbit hole. Like what an entry. Like how ridiculous. So I basically fell down this crypto rabbit hole. And like early 2017 there was like one spike, and then like things kind of like slowed down again, and then like things really went like parabolic into like early 2018. So basically like that entire like those like I think it's 2 or 3 semesters, I spent those basically just doing crypto stuff, like just like I had accounts on like 5 different exchanges, and like it was like yeah, it was the wild west out there. Like even like Dex traded like in 2017, which was like that was basically not a thing. I think it was called Shapeshift. Yeah, Shapeshift X. So like it was basically like an on-chain order book. It was like really clunky. You needed to send your wallet to the actual website. It was like super sketchy, but it worked. I bought some link. Anyone wants to know? I sold it 2 weeks later, so I didn't like make any profits. I was really stupid. Um, but yeah, just like I don't know. Like I even like spent some like Reddit and like 4chan were like the places where you could, like 4chan/biz. Like there was like the like crypto, like that's basically crypto Twitter. Like I think a lot of people who were like on Biz in 2017 were like on 4chan back in. Oh no, yeah, 4chan. Like
I
just like
associate that with
yeah,
like
for
ghost
yeah,
stories.
I think 4chan has like a very like here for yeah, I guess it has a bad rep everywhere. So like yeah, it is a very weird place in the internet. But at that time, it was like one of the kind of like boards to like discuss crypto. So I didn't really like have Twitter on my radar at the time actually. So I don't know why that was not a thing. Um, but yeah, like so like I just spent like way too much time kind of like researching and like thinking that I can actually like understand white papers and stuff. Like the white paper, there was like really a white paper era. It was always like it was like the ICO mania, so people would just like release a white paper, like race on that white paper. It was just like I probably read like 300, 400 white papers over that year. Like it was like absolutely mental. So yeah, I did earn like some money from that whole endeavor, but like in Germany, you don't pay taxes if you don't sell the coins for a year. So like I basically like because like I didn't want to pay taxes, so like naturally I held my coins for a year, and like in that span of the year, like I basically like all my profits kind of eradicated again. I think in the end I was still positive, so like yeah, like even for like I don't know how old was I, 21 or something. And for a 21-year-old, I had like pretty good money, I would say. So then I started to like travel a lot, like solo backpacking. Like I like my first backpacking trip was with a friend to Vietnam. Like 3 weeks, we went from like Saigon to Hanoi. Um, and yeah, then like that really kind of like ignited like this like travel fire in me. Like I traveled as like a kid with my parents, or like as a teenager even, but never like super far. It's always like somewhere in Europe, and like oftentimes like to the same places. So it's not like I was like very new to this like, oh man, like the world is a really big place. um yeah, and then like I started this kind of whole backpacking like thing. That obviously like takes a lot of time. It's like not very helpful for like studying in university. um and then eventually I came back to Germany. I was like, yeah, like traveling school, but like you also like gotta build a life in Germany or something. Or like I probably didn't have that conscious thought, but like it just turned out like I was probably thinking like should probably like finish a university at some point. But then I got really into MMA. Like um, I like the same friend that I went to with Vietnam. He was like, let's start like let's like sign up for the MMA training center like in Bonn. So yeah, and then that kind of became an obsession. So like for like the next semester, I basically like spent in like the fighting gym. That really like it can take up your entire life. Like it's pretty intense. Because it's just like a yeah, it's very intense experiences that you make like while like even I never fought like, and I'm not very good at MMA, but it's just like um
Training. I was gonna say like I want to hear more about the MMA fighting
oh
training
yeah,
and
yeah,
fighting.
like so this gym had like, they had like kickboxing classes, I guess Muay Thai, it might have been Muay Thai, uh Muay Thai, BJJ, Nogi, BJJ. So usually you wear like these judo, like you call them gis, the judo uniforms. Um, yeah, the things that people wear in judo they call the gi. I don't even know if that's the correct kind of like how you say that, but we will say it's a gi. And then there was no gi classes where you just like wear like mostly like very tight fitting like clothes, and like I enjoyed that a lot more, like the no gi classes, because like otherwise people just like they drag you around on your clothes and it's like very weird. And like the no gi classes are like much more kind of physical instead of technical. So like my technique always sucked, but I was always like pretty strong. Um, so like yeah, that was a lot of fun. So yeah, but then eventually I don't even know why I quit that. Um, but yeah, I guess my interest just faded out. And also, oh, I remember we had a teacher from another fighting gym come in and give a class, and that class was so insanely good that afterwards I was like, what the fuck is this gym even doing? This sucks so much. Like literally. Like it was just like this one guy came in once and like he was so good at like teaching, and like I actually like got to like, there was like I was there for like half a year, and then I was like, oh yeah, now things actually start to make sense. Like this guy just taught me more in like, I don't know, like 2 hours than like these all of these other people in like half a year. So I was like, oh, like then I was like, oh, should I find a new gym? But like, and that guy's gym was like, I don't know, like 45 minutes away or something. So like that was not a, so yeah, I guess like that he kind of like he showed me a world out there and it was there. And like I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Um so yeah, I stopped that, and then then I figured out um, you can do a semester abroad if you have a certain amount of credits. So then I like credits in like in Europe. There's like a credit system in
Yeah, yeah, same,
university.
same.
Okay, so yeah, you needed a certain amount of credits to qualify to go to a semester abroad. Um, and then I studied to like get those credits, and then I applied to go to a semester to Taiwan. And then I spent, I want to say, 6 months in Taiwan at NTUST, National Taiwan University of Science and Technology. That was a really cool experience. So I learned some Mandarin Chinese, as Jackie painfully knows. He always tells me like, please don't speak Chinese. It's not Chinese.
I never say that. I never say that.
But yeah, it's really horrible. It's basically a secret language between my Swedish friend there, who I met there, and me. Like that's the level of Chinese I've that kind of stayed with me. Um, so yeah, I did that. Afterwards, I backpacked like 2 more months through like Southeast Asia, like mostly Philippines. Philippines is a really cool place. If anyone wants travel recommendations, um, yeah, and then I'm almost finished with my. I was almost finished with my university, so I had like a lot of credits. Like the semester abroad also gives you like good credits. Like it's also like it was very easy to like ace all the tests there. Like you didn't need to study because they actually had like a system where you like for participation, like a lot of your grade was like participation and like more little projects like presentations and stuff. I enjoyed that style of like being graded way more than in Germany, where it's just like one exam at the end. So they had like a lot of like presentations and like just like I don't know discussing with the teacher in class, and like I don't know like little I don't know you need to write like a one pager or something, but like it feels way more like consistent and like closer to reality, I guess, where like you don't just need to like remember things, but rather like you need to understand things, apply them to something, things like that. But yeah, like it was very easy for me to get like good grades there, but also like no no shade to the Taiwanese education system, but it's also like the level of like education was like quite a bit like lower than in Germany or like a lot of other Western countries. Like some of the presentations that students gave in Taiwan were better than the presentations that the professors would give. So yeah, it was like a bit of an interesting experience. I think that but it's also like I guess you can't really say that, or like in my specific instances you say that you can say that, but I think it's very hard to generalize that because those are the Taiwanese people who teach in English. So like I think they have like this language barrier of like they had to like do all of this stuff in English. So I guess it's not really like you can't generalize it. So yeah, and then came back from Taiwan, did an internship at Daimler. So Daimler is like the parent company of Mercedes Benz, and they also have like Daimler trucks, and there's like a few other brands I forget. So yeah, I initially I only planned to stay there for 6 months, but then I ended up staying for 10 months because like a project was kind of like wrapping up as I was supposed to leave after 6 months, and I was like, yeah, like let me just like finish this. So in that project, I actually learned most of like my skills, like that finally kind of like brought me into Dune. So I was in the project management office of a project that was supposed to update the software version of the global treasury finance software of the whole Daimler kind of like thing. So like there was like offices all over the world, like all of these different treasuries, and like we'd like try to coordinate like the software update across like all the different regions. So like quite a complex undertaking. It was like it was pretty ridiculous. Like it really showed you like the ridiculousness of corporate like Germany or like maybe corporate life in general. It was just like there was like consultants for like developing the software. Then there was like the software company themselves. Then there was consultants on the Daimler side to install the software on Daimler side. And then there was like I don't know, like I think some legal like consultants to like make sure like everything's compliant and stuff. And then there was like a bunch of Daimler employees, and the Daimler employees were by far like the most uninformed, and like they had no idea what they were doing. So like it was a total like clusterfuck, and like it didn't really make sense to me, and like I think it like turned me away from like traditional corporate Germany forever. Basically, I was just like, oh man, like nothing here really makes sense. Um, but yeah, I was lucky that one consultant was in this project management office, and like consultants in Germany are really worth their salt. Like all my like smart friends, they're now like working in consultancies. Like so that's why the people at Daimler are not great because it's like hard to get talent. So so yeah, he was really really good, and he kind of took me under his wing, and then I had some like background in like even though I studied business administration, I had like one kind of special topic. Like we could choose like I don't know how you would say this, but like basically for one semester I would only focus on business information systems. So those business information systems, like we had like I think half an hour of SQL or something, or like maybe one hour of SQL. But like that kind of stuck with me. And then like as I came there, like we had like a bunch of like weird like methods of reporting and like a weird database and like all of this stuff. So I started cleaning that up. And like initially all in Excel, and then like I started like initially like my task was basically to like be an Excel monkey, and like the worst kind of Excel monkey where you literally just like copy pasting stuff around. There was like literally like, there was an own sheet with like I guess like 20-30 steps of like you like take these cells and copy them there, and you take these cells and like apply some function, and you take those cells and do something. So like I was like, we are on a computer, like you can probably automate this, like isn't there a way? So like VS Code, you can use VS Code. No, not VS Code. How's this called? VBA. Um, Visual Studio Basic or something. I don't know. You can use VBA. That's like a Microsoft like Office suite in internal like programming language. You can use that to automate a lot of those tasks. Um, Basically what I did from like these tasks basically taking up my entire week and like another intern's time as well. In the end, it was literally like I guess like the processing time was like half an hour or something, but like it was literally like I automated like all of that, and like I even like added like new reporting methods. Like in hindsight, I should have just set up like a Microsoft Access like database or something, but like I wasn't that well. Like I was basically like doing a bunch of like database management through like Excel sheets, which was like I just use Excel sheets as my databases and tables and stuff. It was like pretty wild. So yeah, that was like like a few consultants who were there, they kind of like they recognized that I had like some talents or like some potential, and they basically like showed me, or like every time I'd have a question, like one of them would sit down with me and like show me like, hey, like this is how you could advance this. And like at a certain point I actually like overtook them in terms of like the VBA knowledge. So like that was like, then I was kind of like I had a problem. But yeah, like just like a lot, like getting started in that and like getting like encouragement from them of like, hey, like I remember like the first time I made something, it's like it was like a, I guess I saved like 4 minutes or something, which is like not that huge. But he was still like, yeah, like if we add that up over a week, like we already have saved, I guess like 20 minutes. So like if you keep doing that, and now that there's like a proof of concept of like, hey, you can actually do this, and like we can probably automate more of these steps, then we can get farther. And it's also like I used to have to come in at like 8:30 or like, yeah, like some ridiculous time for me at the time, to like send an email. And like I also just automated that. Like you can automatically like send emails, and like there needed to be Excel operations done before the email. But like if you can operate that, you can also operate automate sending the email. But yeah, basically a bunch of that stuff. And that's kind of like how I got like deeper into like database systems and business information systems. And then so yeah, I finished that project. And then I think, yeah, I was supposed to write my bachelor thesis. So like I actually have like everything in my studies is completed other than my bachelor thesis. Um, oh no, I still had to write like 1 or 2 exams actually. Statistics was ordinarily is like a thing you have to take in your first semester, and I pushed it until like I guess 5 years later or something. Like I took forever for my like non-finished bachelor's. Um, so yeah, I think I wrote like those 2 exams, like that was like once you are like in the grind, like it was actually pretty easy. I even like, I think it was statistics and math, because like those were like things you actually needed to like hardcore sit down and actually like study for them and like really like get into the grind. And like in maths, how do you say, like mathematics, I was even in my third try. So like in Germany, it's like you can have one fail, you can have 3 failed exams, and then you're basically never allowed to study like any area of that like studying again. So like I wouldn't have been able to study like business administration, like continue that, or business information systems, or like anything like closely related to like business administration. So like quite the like how do you say,
Close call.
yeah, like it's quite a deciding moment, like I for lack of a better word. um so yeah, I had to write that, and like I think I was missing like 8 points out of 100 or something. So like I aced that. So like if you put some pressure on me, I'm able to like sit down and like do things in a disciplined manner. So yeah, that was so yeah. And then like I guess that took me like another like 2 3 4 months, like whenever those like exams were. And then like I was supposed to write my bachelor thesis. And then early 2021 I had lined up a like bachelor thesis with a company, but then COVID hit, and they were like, yeah, like we can't really like do this from the home office, like everything is burning on our side, like we're not going to be able to do this. So yeah, then I was left with like writing bachelor thesis about like purely research like topic, like very much like stupid academia stuff. And like even like I think especially for like a bachelor student, it's like totally useless. Like you're not gonna produce any interesting research. Like it's just like total like bullshit. It's basically like you show that you understand the models, or like the like way of thinking of like academia or like science in general. But like it's just like an impossible task for me to like get interested in something where I'm just like the output of this is totally irrelevant. It decides a grade, I guess, but like the like process of it doesn't feel meaningful in any way. So it's like a total like, I don't know, a deadbeat task. Like it doesn't spark any joy in me. So like I was just like struggling to like kind of get started on that, and just like did like other stuff, I guess. Yeah, and then like crypto. So I really like I fucked around for like 3 4 months. Like I was not getting anywhere. Like I was like, my advisor would write me like, Florian, you got anything? I'm like, oh, not really. um, so yeah, and then eventually DeFi summer started, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. This sparks joy. um, So yeah, so from that, like, oh yeah, maybe like, so after like 2018, like obviously at the beginning I was like, oh shit, like, like I lost a lot of money, or like I lost paper money, I guess. Like I didn't lose more than I put in, so like everything was like kind of all right. um but so like in the beginning I was kind of like feeling down about it. But I never lost faith in the kind of the technology, especially of the Ethereum ecosystem, more like those smart contract systems. At that time, I don't think it was as clear in my mind that like Ethereum would be the most interesting thing. But especially kind of coming from a business administration system, you can just like, and then especially like after working at Daimler and like seeing the global treasury and like finance flows and whatever, you're like, oh my god, like all of our old systems are so inefficient and like nothing of this makes sense. We can all like leverage like efficiencies of scale and like use these like um I don't know, trustful world computers to like to do good stuff. So like I was always like a believer in the idea. So I always like followed like Twitter and Reddit, and like I eventually stopped going on 4chan because it was just like total bullshit. But yeah, I always like followed that scene, but like I never went to like a hackathon or never like found a local community or anything. I was always like, it was just like something that was like very much a me thing, and like I was just thought it was like intellectually stimulating and interesting. So yeah, then DeFi Summer started, and then like I just like participate in DeFi Summer, like all of this like early like yearn farming and yam and like all of these things. And then eventually on that journey, um, I started to want to contribute to the house, because I saw like, hey, like there's an opportunity. Like I saw like left and right people were just like popping up, like, hey, I'm like launching this project, or like this person's now working with Yearn, or like this person's now doing marketing for something else. And I was like, that's interesting. Like I could just like sit here at home and like earn money doing this. So then like I tried with a few different projects. There might be some dead anons from of me somewhere where like it didn't work out with like specific projects. um and then like eventually I found Pickle Finance, which is a fork of Yearn. And that fork of Yearn, um like it was just like it's a like not a very sophisticated fork of Yearn, but it was working, and like it was an interesting project, and like the vibe of the project was really cool. It really felt like very decentralized and just kind of popped up, and like everything was being discussed in Discord. Like people would like absolutely like they had like governance votes from day one, and they would actually use like Snapshot to vote on stuff. I think the founders like to some extent probably did this to like not be in the like law, to like to not have problems down the line with like regulations and stuff. So they like from day one they were like very serious about this, like we are DAO and we're gonna like decentralize this. So like people were like arguing about like the most ridiculous stuff, and there was one, oh man, this is I forgot the name, but there was a guy with a picture of an aubergine, like a eggplant, Dr. Eggplant. His name was Dr. Eggplant, and Dr. Eggplant was the most annoying motherfucker I've ever met in like my life. And he was just like debating about like the most weird stuff, and was just like, yeah, yeah. But I think that actually brought the community together, because we are all like, fuck Dr. Eggplant, and like we're gonna like make something useful here. So like I'm still in contact with like the initial like Pickle Finance contributors that I met at that time. So like it really kind of like bonded, like it's like a generation of like Dr. Eggplant survivors. um, so um so yeah, then I started contributing there, and like on that journey of like trying to contribute, I found Dune, and then like yeah, I've talked for a very long time, so maybe if
If
we
you notice the theme, there's no school in this journey. Basically, the long yeah, there's no school.
there's
Like
no school.
5% of it. Like you have pickle, you have like um, what's it called? You have pickle, you have traveling. Like majority of it is not really going to
Yeah.
classes. Yeah. But you can maybe finish you how you're
Yeah,
gonna.
I can guess I can finish. So like I found Dune, and then yeah, I basically like try like brute forced like my way into like being able to like do stuff on Dune, like just trying around and like looking at other people's queries, and like documentation was like a, I don't know, HackMD doesn't have pages, but it wasn't like very comprehensive. It was just like here, this is Dune, and like this is PostgreSQL, and like figure it out yourself. So yeah, I kind of brute forced my way, asked like the actual pickle devs a lot of questions. Started at the same time with another contributor who was like, he picked up the graph. So like we kind of like we always had like a way to check each other's results, which was like super helpful for that time. And we could talk about like the smart contract functions and event logs and like how we track certain things. Um, so that was super interesting. And yeah, then like Pickle eventually got hacked. So we like they built a leveraged, I think, dye farming product based on Compound V2 or something. And like there was some like flash loan exploit there, and the protocol actually lost 20 million, which is it's quite a sizable amount. Yeah, I remember that moment when I was with friends. I was just checking my phone. It's like the Discord suddenly blows up, and it's like, oh, like 20 million just left the contract. Like, what the fuck is happening? I just sat there in like disbelief for like a couple minutes. I tried to explain this to my friends, and they were all just like, what the like, what are like, Florian, what are you doing? Like, how does this make any sense? Like, like you're telling me like you're working with a bunch of guys from like you don't even know where they live. That like all of them are basically cucumbers or pickles. Like that's their profile pictures. You're getting paid for this. Like to like analyze magic internet money. It didn't make any sense. It still to some extent doesn't make sense today. I actually met one of the guys once. So like they're cool people. Um, um, but yeah, Pickle got hacked. So then I started freelancing for other projects. So like Harvest, Boundbridge. I don't know. Like I got an intro to a VC, did some work for async art, um, and just like in general, like kind of like try to like establish like a presence in crypto Twitter and be like a good data guy, kind of like what Hildorby never. I was gonna say never got out of that phase, but it's not a phase. It's like a very useful like thing in the industry. Um, so like I just like analyzed a lot of airdrops and like whatever was happening in the industry. Like I tried to like produce a dashboard and to build a following on Twitter. And like the idea behind that was always like more followers or like more exposure means more deal flow. So like you'll have more inbound of like, hey, can you build a dashboard for us and like do that or do this. So yeah, and like with the eventual like I guess the goal was always like to find like a good job in crypto. And like university like at that point was like long left behind. It was like I now have these skills. Like I'm literally earning more money in a month than I could earn like if I would actually start working with my degree, with like my bachelor's degree that I didn't ever finish. Yeah, that was just like the logical calculation for me. It's like, do I like value this piece of paper, which like theoretically might get me a job in like traditional German economy, or like do I want to build my contributor profile in Web3 and like build up a GitHub and the Twitter and the Dune profile. And like I very much decided for the latter and just thought like that would be the more like kind of meaningful thing for like the rest of my life, or like at least for the next couple of years. I don't know what will happen, but like I guess it worked out pretty all right. So then started freelancing, but what I also did at the same time. So I very much in the Pickle Discord. It was a lot of like people who were kind of new to this. Like the whole DeFi summer was like people who were like just like jumped on this trend and they were like, oh, this is interesting. So like the vibe was always like very much in like a everyone was helping everyone. Like it was really like we are figuring this out together. Like there were no dumb questions. There was like everyone was like happy to kind of like help the next man or the next woman, and like it was like a really kind of wholesome vibe at the beginning. It was like all of these grifters, like these NFT people who like launch projects, and then just this, that wasn't a thing yet. Of course there was like hacks and stuff, and like founders would like rock projects, but like in general like the like ground level participants were way more kind of like it was such a niche of a niche of a niche that like everyone who was kind of there was like, this is cool, like this is interesting, let's figure it out, and like very kind of wholesome vibes, except for Dr. Eggplant. And, I don't even like. I'm like 80% sure that it's Dr. Eggplant, but I'm not 100% sure. Um, so yeah, so I kind of like took that vibe that I had learned in the Pickle Discord, or like in general, like if you went to the synthetic Discord at the time, or like a lot of these like DeFi project Discords, they were like super good vibes, and like there was always like a dev section where like I remember that Bantek answered like a few of my early questions in like the Pickle or Urn Discords and stuff, and like so yeah, like just like people were like really helping each other, also like really, really cool stuff. And then I just took that ethos into the Dune Discord, because like I don't even know. Like I think the Dune Discord had like maybe 400, 500 people when I joined, and like I just like be in there like complaining to Mats and Frederick, like, hey, this doesn't work, like, this is the bug here, and like I don't know, like what happened there, and, or like just ask questions. But then eventually I was like, or like my way of thinking was basically like, I have the skill Dune, and like at the time I wasn't like, it was very uncertain that like Dune was going to become this huge thing, right? It was just like Mats Frederick and like some other guy, and like they didn't have this like, they didn't have this big presence in DeFi. It was like very, very much a new tool, and like most people are using the graph. So like I was like, okay, if like I have this very specific skill, if that skill becomes more demanded, then I'm gonna have a better deal flow, or like more demand for my work. So like that's literally like how little Dune was at the time, or like not to like diminish the work that they had done until that point, but like it wasn't like you'd see like, I don't know how it is for other people, but my Twitter feed is oftentimes just like random Dune charts. I mean, I also follow a lot of analysts, but it's like also just like non-Dune related accounts posting, or like non-analysts posting like Dune charts. But at that time, it was very much like unclear that Dune was going to become this solution. So yeah, then I basically had the ethos of like, if I grow the pie, if more people start using Dune, then Dune gets more exposure, there's more demand for Dune, and then like the supply for work, or like the demand for my work, or like the supply of work at large, becomes larger. So I just started helping out people in the Dune Discord, um, like for free, like without any like ulterior motives or anything. Or like my motive was like self-driven, I guess. So yeah, I just started helping people out. And then like I did that for like a month and a half, I guess. And then Frederick eventually reached out to me, and he's like, hey, like, do you have any feedback or something? And like about the Dune product at that time. And then during the call, it was also like cool that you're answering these questions and stuff. And then I think I just like kept grinding, and like kept building, and like kept doing stuff. And then 2 weeks later, I think Frederick reached out again. He's like, hey, like, you're answering all of these questions in Discord. Like, it's really helpful to us. Like, this is amazing. Don't you like want to like do consulting, or like you want to do this as a contractor for us? So then like I no idea, like I needed to look into like how to become a contractor in Germany, and like talk to a tech stack, and like blah blah blah. But like I basically like I said yes, and like was like, yeah, like let's do this. And then I did that for like 2 more months, I guess. And then Frederick eventually was like, hey, don't you want to join us full time? Like, you're doing a really good job with this. So yeah, that's how that's the very long story of like how my university life went, and like how I ended up at Dune. Um, so yeah,
I think you're self-prompting questions for yourself. And I don't feel like we needed to ask you about your journey. It's yeah. I don't even know. I think we can go into the next question, next part. Do you have questions?
No, I think that's a really comprehensive journey from your from your pretty much non-existent university life
Yeah.
into
Keyword non-existent. I guess maybe like two things I was feeling like as you were saying it. You're like, I don't know how to best put this, but you basically like embody the Dune spirit, the like not the most, but like so much, I guess. If that makes sense. Like you like are so into crypto, and then you basically were like, oh, like let's help each other out. And then like the way you kind of like grew up in the crypto, it's like, sure, like in the early days you weren't in the Dune Discord, but like you were in like the Pickle Finance Discord, so you're like very much like, you can hear like you're like so excited about it, like you have passion for it. And later on you grew up together with Dune. Yeah, not a question, but just an observation of like how much like Dune spirit that you
yeah.
embody. Yeah.
I mean, at this point, like not to like overplay myself or anything, but like I've been at Dune for like 2.5 years, which is half of Dune's existence, and like I've kind of been a big touch point in like the Dune community. So I guess like I kind of like I helped build this, but like of course like on the in the kind of footsteps of Frederick and Mats, who were also like they were already extruding these qualities of like let's help each other, like let's grow the pie for everyone, let's focus on our own stuff, let's not talk shit about anyone, like we're like honest, upstanding people, and we just want to make the world a better place by building this product. So yeah, I very like I just followed in their footsteps and kind of amplified that, because like obviously they had better things to do. So I kind of like I guess I was like the yeah, no like, like
Everyone has a
Frederick
talent.
has a company to lead and Mats has code to write. Like it's very fair statement to say that they had better things to do. So yeah, it's like yeah, yeah, I guess that's
I have to say that definitely at some point in time associate Dune with your like horse profile picture. So yeah, thank you so much for all this, all the community work that you've done. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's my pleasure. Yeah, my horse is a Dune brand asset now. Like, no way around. It should copyright it, I guess. Um,
Okay, we're gonna go into the next life meta part. Uh, so with that part, what do you think people get wrong about you?
so what I actually so yesterday we were at DuneCon. So just to set the context, so I met a bunch of people who were like, "Wow, you're like way nicer in person, and you are way less serious." Um, Yeah, no. Like, if you like interact with me on Twitter or Discord or like even via email or something, I'm usually like very direct and to the point. Just because like there's like so many people who want like things from me at all time, all given times. So like even like people write me on Discord like, "Hey man, how are you doing?" And I'm just like, "Dude, get to the point." Like that's literally like my first message to these people, where I'm like, like that's not the way like I can operate with you. Like I like niceties, but like we can like we can do something together, and then like if that goes well, like if you've like proven yourself to be like knowledgeable or like worth spending my time on, then I want to learn the like who you are as a person. But like somebody reaches out to me about like, oh, like we want the partnership and we're like whatever, some marketing agency in Estonia. It's like, dude, like I like how do you think this will work? Like how what's in it for me? And then like yeah, and these people usually start with like, hey, how are you doing? Like it's yeah. So like I'm very direct if you interact with me on like digital communication path, I guess. Um, or like non like async communication path. I think that's a better way to put it. So like I think for the like for people who like don't directly know me but kind of like know the image of me on the internet or like interact with me through those channels, like I'm actually kind of like I'm a I don't know. I think I'm not as serious. Like I'm actually like the almost the opposite of that. Like I always like uh I don't know. I laugh at moments where other people would cry, but I just kind of like not in the psychopathic way. It's just like I think very little things in life are so serious that you should not laugh about them, or like kind of like self deprecate, or like kind of like have fun. Like why the serious face? Like there's no like it's not gonna get better if you're serious about it. Like you might as well have fun. Like even if like the topic sucks, or if there's like some unfortunate thing that happened. Like of course, like it's always like you need to keep a healthy balance between like being I don't know like what's a good word for this, like don't be rude, like don't piss other people off with this, but like if there's like a relatively neutral thing that like other people might conceive as like bad, like I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna censor myself in like my excitement or joy about this, or like I just think something I think is ridiculous just because like the other person might like conceive that different in that moment. Like I don't know, it's might not really make sense, but for me it makes sense.
Yeah, I think I also have the impression like when I first got to know you, and I mean, I was not like scared or anything, but basically the way you talk is like direct, and then but I also listened to the podcast that you were doing with Dune back then. I'm like, oh, this person is not the same as when he was like talking on Twitter and stuff. So yeah, I think it's always like takes time to really like get to know someone. So I have a question about like, so what are the things that gives you energy like in life and also at work?
What gives me energy? Spending time with my friends always gives me energy, but not too much. Like this week has been super draining. I'm not someone who you'll catch like doing something like with friends every day. Like I also like spend like time alone, or like I don't want to call it working on myself, because like always feels like this kind of hustle grind culture. It's just like taking care of myself. I guess that's like better way to put it. Of like, I don't know, doing yoga, or like I haven't meditated in a while. It's been way too long. But my form of meditation is I don't know, like calisthenics, like just like working out using your own body weight, like doing pull ups, push ups, squats, like all of that. I hate traditional gyms. It's always like such a like kind of claustrophobic environment, and you're always kind of like, even though it's like like a very open space, you always like, I always feel like you have to shuffle through there and like not look at anyone, and like I don't know, like some gyms are probably like nicer, but it's like this general like I don't know, it feels like a weird space to me. Like I've never really enjoyed it. I would much rather like just go outside and like do a few pull-ups from that branch you can see in the background here, or like literally I have like like exercise rings, like gymnastic rings, and you can literally like hang them on the tree and like do a really good workout. So like I really enjoy that. So I guess, yeah, that really like kind of gives me energy personally. Both like, I think both sides of this, where it's like if you spend all your time alone, like that's not gonna make you happy, and like always working doesn't make you happy. But finding like good balance of like leading a good life with friends, making new experiences, just out enjoying life, but then also like taking good care of yourself, and kind of like, um, I don't know, just like going to bed early is honestly like a thing, or like going to bed on time, and like having like regular sleep schedule is like such a huge thing you can do for yourself, of like taking care of yourself. Um, so yeah, setting boundaries with yourself and the world, I think like that's really important. And then like, what gives me energy in work? I mean,
Teammates.
all of this has been all of this has been like quite the like insane journey. And yeah, I joined June as like sixth employee, and just like seeing this like growth and improvement of our product, and the way kind of things just click into place, or like at some points they might also fall apart, and then you fight against that current, and then like kind of like making sure that like the whole kind of ship goes into the right direction. That gives me like a really good feeling. I kind of like think more in a global scale, and like I think that also like reflects in my work at Dune, where like Jackie can probably like attest to this, or like anyone who's kind of like seen me like do things. Like I've been doing everything, like documentation videos, a podcast, like wherever like there's holds that I think like are the most pressing inside of Dune, like I'll go there and kind of like try to keep the hole plugged. So for me, I guess the global outcome is actually like a really thing that motivates me. And like if I see other people like doing cool stuff on Dune, or like um I don't know, like people like implementing things that I've taught them, or like I see wizards succeeding, like that makes me really happy. And I guess like a more like particular thing, where it's like this whole community thing. Like I don't think it's an accident that I've been like successful as a community manager, because like I deeply care about like people, like not all people. Like I think I have like a very good feeling of like who's worth to invest in and who's not worth to invest in. um and like I think a lot of my bets on people have really paid off, where like they've eventually gotten a job, or like just like you can very quickly tell the way people interact with you, even asynchronously, if they have an idea, if they're willing to like look at things themselves, or if it's just somebody who's like, I'll just like try this out, and like it's not really like, you need to have like it's very like, unfortunately, like for a long time Dune was very much like you needed to like have a lot of grit and like determination to be like, I'm gonna figure this out. And then you might be successful. I think nowadays that has gotten a lot better. Our onboarding, like our documentation, our videos, like all of that stuff. But for a long time, it was like you needed to have the grit, and like you needed to have like determination to do this, and like you can very quickly figure this out, like writing messages with people, community, users, or
Wizards.
Yeah, wizards. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of these people succeed over time. I think that has been like that has also been like a big driver of motivation, where like I hear like, I don't know, somebody got a new freelancing gig, or somebody actually got a full-time job, or somebody got hired somewhere. That's always like when Hildobby like chose to join Dragonfly, for example. I was like, fuck yes, like yes, he made it. Like it's been worth it to like invest time in like in getting that guy where he is today. And it's like, yeah, it's like good for Dune, but it's also like just like on a personal level. Like I've even like I've literally shed tears about this, of like, or like just like a single tear like kind of rolling down your cheek, of like, yeah, because like these like people like write me like really like long like thoughtful thank you messages of like, hey man, because of like your videos, or like your mentoring, or like your like all the help that you've provided me over like these last 6 months or the last year, I now have a job. Like I even got like three people I met yesterday told me this. So it's like, yeah, like I think like at this point maybe I have like a stack of 50 people or so that like I've really like deeply impacted their lives. I guess like it's not me, like part of it is me personally, like part of it is Dune like generally, and then like I guess some other community manager could have also done this, where it's like I'm just the executor of this function that I'm in. Um, but like it still makes me very happy. Like if I hear things like that.
The passion, guys, the passion that you can hear. Okay, I want to ask, like, zooming out, not just like Doom in general, but the world in general. Do you think we are living in a better world than 100 years before? And do you think 100 years later, the world is heading to a better place?
That is a very very loaded question. I think undoubtedly the world is a better place than 100 years before.
Undoubtedly. Okay, sorry. I keep going.
Undoubtedly, however that word is correctly pronounced in English, I think the world is a better place. Um, like people on average are living way way better lives than they were 100 years ago. What the like if you think about like the information that I can access on this phone, like compared to 100 years ago, and just like the, I don't know, it's just crazy. Like we have this space rock in our pockets, and it's just like enabled so much. So I think like technological progress is a huge kind of driver of civilization. Whether like I think life is, yeah, it's very difficult like to say life is good right now, because like obviously life is not good in a lot of parts of the world. Uh, but I think like, yeah, it's like what is the meaning of life? Where are we striving? Like I don't know. I think like humanity is doing cool shit. Like of course there's always like problems, but like I think like the kind of like the technological progress, like evolution is like a progress. It's like you're adapting to your environment, and like I think humans are like more and more figuring like we've kind of like started out in like very little parts of the earth, and now like you can build like ski slopes in the desert in Dubai. Like that's absolutely crazy. Like we're basically like conquering more and more parts of the world. Like we've already basically conquered the whole world, and now we're like out to like adventure into the universe. Like I guess that's like the next step. Like we're getting better at like managing the world, and like there's ups and downs, and like what's currently happening. Like I don't follow like I follow geopolitics, but it's like I don't really have any like particular stances to it. I just think it's like interesting to like follow the trends and like see what is happening. I like a lot of things don't make sense to me, but like from perspective of someone else, like a lot of things like that I would say like don't make sense. So like I don't think it's like worth debating that very much, or like even like thinking too much about like what you would want in that scenario of like, I don't know, like, yeah, it just doesn't really make sense for me to like personally spend time on that. Like if I wanted to spend time on that, I would go into politics and actually try to change something. Like I think like all of these, like I don't really understand why you would want to like discuss politics a lot with your friends or like with your family or whatever. Just like thought policing like other people. It's like I don't care what you guys think. Like if we vibe, we vibe. If we vibe, if we don't, we don't. Like I don't care about your political affiliations. Um, so So yeah, I follow the events, but like I don't like really think about it. Like don't spend too much time like worrying that like something will happen or something. Um, so yeah, and then like yeah, I think on this like, is it good that humans are conquering the world? That's like a can we find a phrase that like sounds more gentle? We're exploring new parts of the world, and like soon we will explore the oceans or like the deep ocean and the space. I guess like I think more humans is always a good thing. Like that would be like a, I guess more humans always a good thing.
That would be a spicy take.
Oh,
Some people
that's
don't like that. Yeah, some people don't like that. But to your point about thought policing, so
yeah, like people have started stopping like getting kids because they think like the like kids are or like more humans like are polluting the earth. Like that's a really weird take, bro. Like yeah, if yeah, I don't agree with that. So yeah, I guess like in my world, like at least in my kind of personal universe, more humans is always good. So yeah, I yeah, like, given that, like I'm an optimist. I think the world will get better. Of course, there could be like, I don't know, like little bear markets in humanities, in humanities like trajectory. But like, I think on average, like life has only gotten better. I no, the medieval types really sucked. Like, but we lost a lot of progress. Like, I think like as long as like that was like a bear market for humanity. So like as long as like we're progressing and the like average like quality of life for persons are getting better, and like oh that's actually, we could get into a philosophical discussion of like a lot of people are actually like less happier than they were like 50 years ago, even though like we have like materially we're like way better off. So like I guess like I've only like talked about the material aspects here. So like I think we need to figure out like how we can actually like be happy humans in this like new material world, and like not be addicted to our space rocks in our pockets, and like um I don't know, like abuse substances and stuff like that. I think like we'll probably figure this out in the next like 10, 20 years. I think there's like already like I think Gen Z, like the people who are like the generation below us. Why am I explaining this? I don't know your guys' ages. Like I think we're all pretty much. I think we're all pretty much the same age. So like I think we're like I personally actually I think like I think theoretically I'm not really Gen Z, but I think there's a weird thing in between Gen Z and Gen Millennials, like years like 1995 to like 2000s. I think that's like a, oh, like we had such a weird like childhood, because like we remember like calling our friends like the actual home telephones, but then like we also remember so like smartphones like 5 years later, like having all the world's information in your pocket. So like I think there's like a, that's like a, it's almost like a sub generation. Like there's like a whole debate about this on the internet. Like there's like a weird transitional period. Like we are like zillennials or something. Um, and but like if you look at like the habits of Gen Z and stuff, I think they're getting way more like conscious of like what is bad, and like not a lot of them are drinking anymore and stuff like that. And like a lot more of that, like at least I feel like their culture is more like health and like chill, and like not like super like hamster wheel driven, and like you just need to perform. It's like more about like finding happiness. If they're actually like accomplishing that by hanging out on TikTok all day, I'm very doubtful. But I think at least like the cultural underpinnings of that generation are like a bit uh or like at least the way I perceive it are like in some sense a bit cleaner. But yeah, it's very like, I think it very much depends on like the glasses you're looking at, or like the perspective you take on like that generation, and like how also like who you interact with. Like I'm yeah, I guess like Gen Z in New York might be very different than Gen Z in Germany.
I find it just so interesting that you can keep prompting questions to yourself. And then I wonder if the whole podcast could be like you just monologue asking yourself own questions.
He's like, today we're going to talk about club mate, and then we're gonna, oh, basically just agree. You can have a podcast of yourself. Today we're going to talk about club mate, and go from there and end with still crypto and bear market somehow.
Yeah, but I really love that. I guess we talk about like human beings, like human happiness. But let's maybe okay. So after zooming out, let's zoom in again. What makes you happy, and what makes you have like a fulfilled life? Yeah.
I think seeing my tribe win, like tribe, as in like my friends, my family, and then also like the wizards that I'm in, like they're basically friends, I guess. Like they're friends with an E, like internet friends. Um, I think that brings me like great joy. Yeah, I think like I'll do whatever it takes. Like it's also like the global outcome of Dune. Like I'll do whatever it takes to like to keep the tribe happy, to keep to like push the global thing forward. Um, and yeah, that keeps me going. Like if you like drop me on an island somewhere, I wouldn't really like. That would be like horrendous. Like who am I gonna like take care of? Like who am I gonna help? Like this wouldn't work. Um, so yeah, I think that's like what brings me happiness. And then also like that's like the very like global macro scale of like that's the kind of theme I see in my life, I guess. um and then like on the more micro scale, it's like I don't know, I really like getting nerdy about stuff, and like I'm always very curious to learn. um yeah, like seeing progress in all things. Like I recently started running, and like um so like I'm running like usually like 6 kilometers, and like now that I have an Apple Watch, no shout out, you can like you can see your times very like accurately like tracked, and like seeing like my resting heart rate go down, and like my lap times go down. Yeah, it's all like it's all good if it goes down instead of up for once. So like yeah, seeing like those metrics improve, well, they're like very interesting to me. I really like, I seem to like measurable things, I guess. Like that's really like I'm currently thinking about buying a sleep tracker because the Apple Watch sleep tracker sucks. So that's why no shout out. So like I can get even nerdier about optimizing my sleep. Um, so that has been a recent journey of like optimizing sleep. You should all wear like sleeping masks. It's very good for you.
Okay, so it sounds like you, on like macro scale, like you really enjoy being like a helper, like a supporter, a helper. Um, Maybe this isn't a question that you think about, but like, do you, if you do, like, do you think that like has backfired you? Like people would take advantage of that trait of you?
I think dutiful is like a better.
Dutiful. Okay.
Yeah, like I take care of my duties.
Mm, mm.
Like that's like all the jobs I've ever had. I've basically like just taken my duties very seriously, and like just yeah, the standard of like people is sometimes so low that like if you do like just what's expected of you and like you fulfill your duty, like that's actually like really good. um that's actually a very bleak sentence. um but yeah, I think duty is like the right word for this. And like I think if you frame it like duty, it's not like I very rarely will get taken, or like I don't feel like that has happened to me a lot. Like um I think I've fallen for some people in my past who've like blinded me, or like been like, how can you say this? um I don't know, but like it was never like they really took advantage of me. It's just like I figured out after a time like that those are not the like best people to hang out with. Like in the end, like it's not really like like good relationship to maintain or something. But I never like had like deep hurt because of it, or like deep pain or anything. Like it's always like yeah. So like I don't really think that that has affected me.
Is there anything that you feel like is because you're German, so that's why it's your like kind of personality? I just want to know, like something that is all only like because I'm German. That's why.
Yeah. So obviously, like as a like German person living in German culture, like I still live in Germany. I think it's very hard to kind of pinpoint like aspects of your, like you guys tell me if like what you think is like super German about me, other than my looks. Like um, yeah. think Germans are like quite direct. Like we like we're not like super scared of conflict. So I think like that's like an aspect of me where I'm like I am very direct and like I don't shy away from saying things. Um, I think most Germans are more like bound to authority. I'm not very bound to authority. Like I don't really care about like what your title is or like what you might have done before. Like if you have like a certain like a fancy paper from the university or something. Um, I think that's like more family wise that was given to me. What else might be German about me? I guess like the sense of duty thing, but then there's also like a lot of other Germans who like don't like really have this strong sense of duty. Um, yeah, like, phew, um, no, I think it's more like in relation to like I guess my parents and like my closer family, and then also like the group of friends that I grew up with and stuff. That's more like the cultures that get that's the cultural values that get imprinted on you. So yeah, maybe those were the German values though, since I grew up like in most like German speaking like yeah, basically all my friends as I grew up were white, like white as fuck. Like so like yeah, I yeah. I couldn't really pinpoint like any like super German things other than being very direct.
I think you're very good at like not just to details. For example, with like the Dune sequel, like understanding the database, it's like so much to like go into each of like the function, like how do we convert this. That's very German, like attention to detail and like willingness and ableness to go that deep into something like super granular. So I feel like that's very German. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Now that you're saying it, like my attention to detail and kind of like my yeah, I need to understand things like holistically. So I guess like I do have some like German engineering like brain inside of me where it's like you need to like understand the whole system to be able to like move like individual parts or like change parts. I think like yeah, like now that I've worked with like more Americans, like I don't think they like no like no.
we're not
Yeah, like yeah, I guess you like you're becoming an American more and more. Um,
somehow I feel like that's not a good thing in your world.
yeah, okay. Yeah, Americans are way more like they're way more likely to just make like bold claims, and like not understand like the whole system, and they just go in somewhere and they're like, let's just like take this like wheel or like let's change this gear, and it's like a higher like risk taking ability. Like if you want to formulate it positively, and then doing things that they have no fucking idea what they are supposed to do. Like if you want to frame it negatively. So I think I'm like for me it's probably like I'm like oh, am I super risk averse? Like not yeah, I guess like I'm probably more like way more risk averse than the like average American. Like I would never just like quit my job and be like, oh yeah, I'll figure it out. Like whatever, like I'll start something or like find a new job in like a couple of days, like whatever. Um, that like that's foreign to me. Um, so yeah yeah this like the ability and like the wantingness like the drive to be like I need to understand this whole thing, so then like if somebody asks me something about this I can answer it, or like I can actually like reason about it like in a holistic manner. Yeah, that I think is like a very German aspect about me.
I don't know. I guess people already know where to find you, but but in case that people don't know yet, where can people find you? Find more about you?
um at 0xBoxer on Twitter. I don't have a Substack or anything, so but maybe I'll have a podcast again soon. We'll find out about it. But then you would find that in my Twitter. That's the main one.
Oh, and what do you want to learn from our audience? How can they help you?
Tell me your best tips for better sleeping and how to keep my heart rate down while running. I am not able to keep my heart. Like, my runs are like oh, I almost have heart infarcts. I guess like not like I don't, but like my heart rate is way too high to run long distances. Trying to minimize that. So, if anyone has tips for better sleeping or decreasing your heart rate while running, I'm all yours. Reach out on Twitter.
Wonderful. So, really, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. And also, this is also our first time doing the podcast in person, and I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a great time. I interviewed myself, I guess. So I think I did a good job. um, this idea of like that, like ordinary people actually have stories to tell. Like it's a very interesting one, because like there's so many, like I think like there's one saying, like we're all standing on the shoulder of giants, but like I actually don't think we're all standing on the shoulder of giants. Like we are all stones in a cathedral, or like if you want to, like we are all standing like on the shoulders of dwarfs. Like we're all collectively kind of like progressing the world, society, like technology, whatever. And like everyone like is doing their part. Everyone has their part to play. And I think like kind of highlighting the like individual voices, or like shedding light on like not like the same like 100 people all the time. Like I think that's like a very healthy progression in our society that should be way more, like that should be done way more. Like yeah, full stop.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Journey of the Unordinary. If you haven't already, please subscribe so you won't miss an episode. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you are listening right now. Also, if you know someone who might enjoy the podcast, please share it. If you like our conversation, please help rate it and give us a review so others can discover the podcast and join us on the same adventures.
Join us next time as we carry out intimate conversations with our unordinary guests to discover their journeys to where they are today. See you next week!